Welcome everybody to another motocross action video. I'm Josh Mosman and this is the 2024 GasGas MC350F. The GasGas MC350F is all new for 2024 with the updated frame, updated 350 engine, and all new chassis for 2024. But it is different from its orange and white brothers. It's got the forged aluminum triple clamps. It's got softer suspension settings, a slightly different bodywork that causes for a more closed off airbox. It's also got an aluminum subframe, softer rear shock, no resonance chamber on the header, and a few other updates we're gonna dive into in this video. We've spent a lot of time on the new GasGas models. There's some things we like the engine and chassis overall feel, but some things we don't like the BrakTec brake components and clutch hydraulic actuation. In this video, we're gonna dive into all the details and we'll have Brian Medeiros hop on this bike. What's it like to ride a 350? Well, it's like riding a factory 250 four-stroke. 350 in stock form has awesome horsepower, but it doesn't have the same torquey and heavy feel that a 450 has. It has more of a long linear pull that you really have to rev out to the 13,400 RPM peak to get the most engine and the most horsepower out of a 350 engine. KTM introduced the 350 back in 2011. Since then, they've made tons of updates year over year on this new bike. Now, when GasGas was bought by KTM and they started platform sharing bikes in 2021, it came out with the 350, and then the new bike came out. KTM came out all new for KTM and Husqvarna in 2023. GasGas was left 1 year behind. That's why I say this is an all new bike, because for 2024, GasGas caught up to its KTM and Husqvarna brothers, and now it has the new frame, the new swing arm, the new subframe, and the new 350 engine that KTM and Husky had back in 2023. As you guys know now, we're already testing the 2024 and a half factory edition models, which have updated frames and also updates to the rest of the bike. So they're more compliant, more flexible, but today this bike had softer suspension because it is a GasGas. It's plusher and it's more compliant on the track, more tuned to the novice and vet riders rather than the race-ready pro riders that maybe might feel more comfortable on a KTM. So we had a good time riding this today. MXA's Brian Medeiros spent a ton of time on it for us today, and he rides all kinds of different bikes. So let's hear what he thought about this one.
So, as most of you know, I've spent a lot of time on Suzuki's, and it was a nice change today to ride the GasGas 350. I've spent a lot of time on 350s back in 2021, and I haven't really rode one since. So, jumping on this new updated engine, I was excited, and they definitely made a lot of improvements since 2021. The brakes feel pretty similar to Japanese bike brakes. They're not as strong as Brembo's, but they still work. It's got a lot more power than what it used to before, a lot farther pull, and just the overall fun bike to ride. So when you first get on this bike, you're gonna feel like you're on a really fast 250F, like a well-tuned, well-running 250F. It still has torque like a 450, but not as much. So someone like me that's 5'6", 130 pounds can just ride this thing and get it up to the RPMs without worrying about it ripping my arms off, and ride it at that speed for a lot longer throughout the day.
So as MXA test riders, we always know when a guy's feeling good and when he's not feeling it. Some bikes I gel with better than others. Some bikes Brian gels with better than others. Today, I was immediately impressed with Brian on the 350. I thought we might be seeing what we saw with the Air Forks last time he messed with it, but GasGas does have softer suspension settings, as I already mentioned, a little more plush, a little more vet friendly, novice friendly, and just even light rider friendly.
So we got about 3 hours on the bike today. So a lot of riding. It definitely progressed and got better. But I feel like with this softer suspension, you don't feel as much rigidity in this current KTM Husqvarna GasGas platform frame as I did on the KTM because of the stiffer suspension. Although this suspension was softer, I could still charge into bumps and not blow through and still have that rigidity of the frame to know it was going to be precise. Yes, it was a little bit harsher on the hands, but it would do the same thing every time, which is kind of why I gravitate towards the Suzuki. If it's going to buck, it's going to buck the same way every time, and this GasGas does that well. With the softer suspension, it's easier for me to get this bike leaned into corners and keep it there. So yeah, double thumbs up to GasGas on the softer suspension. Of course, if you're a little bit heavier, you're gonna wanna bump up your air. It does have a 4 or 5 Newton meter shock spring, which is the same as the KTM, just softer valving. So you might have to go in on your clickers a little bit. But yeah, other than that, GasGas is pretty good.
So as MX8 test riders, it's our job to test all the bikes and tell you what's best, what's not, so you can make a better educated decision when you spend your hard-earned money on a new dirt bike. With that, Brembo brakes and Brembo hydraulic clutch, best in class. Yamaha even made it the Brembo hydraulic clutch system as a GYTR aftermarket upgrade that you can buy for Yamaha. We threw it on there, we loved it. So for me, I get to test all the bikes all the time. It's been a while since he's ridden with Brembo brakes. I'll tell you, it's a big difference between Brembo and BrakTec. But for a guy like Brian, what's it like for you? Because you haven't been riding with Brembo lately. So how did these compare to the Nissan brakes that you've been used to?
These brakes, coming off of a cable clutch and Nissan brakes, these don't fade as bad as the Nissans.
Really?
The front brake stayed consistent all day long, and the clutch I didn't really have a problem with. After spending some time on the KTM later on this afternoon and jumping back on the GasGas, you can definitely feel a difference between the Brembo brakes and these brakes, the BrakTec brakes. Brembos are definitely better, but if you're coming off a Japanese bike, I don't think you're gonna have a problem with these brakes.
Yep.
Yeah, because they're not bad brakes.
Yep. I was riding a Honda today and then I jumped on the GasGas. I honestly didn't have a problem with them either. We did harp on the GasGas BrakTec brakes that came in 2023 and prior. They were horrible. Now for 2024, GasGas did make some small updates inside of the BrakTec components for these new models. So they are better. They are closer to Brembo, but they are nowhere near Brembo quality. But it's our job to tell you guys that, but that doesn't mean that it is the end of the world to have these brakes. Besides that, the other difference on the GasGas is the forged aluminum triple clamps. These are not split triple clamps, even though they kind of look like them. That's just for design and aesthetics. They do offer more comfort and more compliance on the front end, which might be another reason why Brian liked this bike today. They are not quite as high level as KTM. KTM comes with CNC machined triple clamps, a little bit stiffer, a little more precise coming into corners. So there's a few options on this bike that make this a little more affordable than a KTM, but it's not much. KTM, $10,899 for a 350. GasGas, $10,099. So you're saving $800 by going with the red brand, and you're getting a few parts that are just a knockoff of KTM's models.
So one thing I did notice on the GasGas compared to my Suzuki and other Japanese bikes was that it is wider, but it's wider in the right spot. My contact patch, instead of being down here by my ankle and kind of losing it as it gets up, I felt like I could grip the bike from my ankles all the way up to my knees at the highest point. So I felt like I could move the bike around more and have more control. Japanese bikes, I feel like my ankles are in the good spot, but it gets looser in the knees and kind of puts my hips in awkward positions. So that was one thing I noticed with the GasGas. Although it is wider, there's no big difference up front to where you're trying to get your leg up and you're hitting the side of the shroud. It's kind of sleek design, makes it easy to still get your leg up in the corners. Overall makes the bike feel a little wider, but not as wide as like the previous Yamahas.
.350 engine. Who is this bike meant for and what is it good for? Well, honestly, it's good for me. I'm debating on which bikes I'm gonna race at the Nationals this year. You guys know, last few years I've done different bike at every single race, made it too hard on myself, and now for 2024, I'm trying to be wiser and pick one bike to race on and make it more simple across the board. Hangtown and Paula, the first two Nationals, I'm heavily thinking about racing a 350. How come? I'm not in the best shape. Let's just be honest, I'm not in the best shape. And I'm also not expecting to get a whole shot. Now, if I was a top 10 rider and I wanted to get a great start, I would choose a 450 because that's necessary for getting a great start. But I have no plans of being top 10 off the start. I feel like I'll do just fine on the 350. I'll lose out off the start. That's okay because I'll be able to ride longer, harder without getting as tired. The 350 is only 1 pound lighter than the 450 four-stroke. Pretty surprising. But when you're riding on the track, it feels a ton lighter because you have a lot less rotating mass inside of the engine. Everything in there is smaller and more compact. Because of that, you are able to lean into corners easier. It's not gonna pop up out of ruts as hard. It's also gonna handle better going over the bumps. So the 350 is better for riding faster, longer. It's better for guys who aren't in great shape, and it's an easy and more fun bike to ride than a 450. You don't have to respect the power as much. You can ride it harder like a fast 250 and rev higher into the RPM. So I'm heavily thinking about it. I'm really leaning towards it, and the true reason why I haven't committed to it yet is because the 350 is such a popular bike with all of our vet test riders that we have like hundreds of hours on our KTM and Husqvarna already. This GasGas is brand new, but it's gonna have 100 hours on it by next weekend because all of our test riders gravitate towards the 350. So if I can pull one from Jody or even get KTM to let me have another one, I'll definitely be racing this at the Nationals. Also, GasGas models come stock with MXST tires from Maxxis. However, these are slightly different tires than you can buy from your dealership when you're buying fresh Maxxis because they're not as durable. It's kind of unfortunate Maxxis gets a bad rap with their MXST tires because some reason the GasGas models come with tires that are spec'd with a little different rubber, not as durable. But if you buy these at the dealership, they're not gonna be as bad. One team that's racing them in Supercross, Freddie Norn and the Mad Parts Kawasaki team, they're racing with these and they put them in the main event multiple times. So good stuff from Maxxis tires. All right guys, thanks for watching. Brian Medeiros, our most Hawaiian guy, our most short guy, and our most probably technical guy. He's got his own suspension company, so check that out. Brian, you got anything to say?
Like, comment, subscribe. Make sure you stay up to date with everything MXA, and we'll catch you in the next one. I'll just take a nap right here. Hello, GasGas.